Okay, let's talk about something I think a lot of us have felt. You push really hard in your workouts, you're sweating buckets, feeling totally wiped out.
Mm.
And then you step on the scale and it's like, why isn't the fat loss happening? It's so frustrating.
It really is a common frustration. But what if I told you there's a specific way, a science-backed approach that can actually help turn your body into a much more efficient fat-burning machine?
Okay, I'm listening. So it's not just about grinding harder.
Exactly. It's much more about training smarter. And, well, that's precisely what we're going to dive deep into today.
Great.
We've looked at some really comprehensive sources, one covering physical activity broadly, and another focusing right in on the precise science of heart rate training.
So what's the mission here?
Our mission really is to give you a clear, actionable blueprint, something you can use to genuinely optimize your workouts and, unlock your body's best fat-burning potential.
Okay, sounds good. So where do we start? Maybe with the basics. Like, what is physical activity according to these sources?
Good starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sources define it pretty broadly. Basically, it's any kind of movement that uses energy. But crucially, it's not all formal exercise.
Right. So there are different types.
Exactly. We can kind of break it down into two main types. First, there's something called non-exercise physical activity,
NEPA.
for short.
NEPA. Yeah.
And that's any movement your body makes using your muscles that burns energy above just, resting, walking around, fidgeting, taking the stairs.
Just everyday stuff.
Right. And it adds up. The World Health Organization actually suggests aiming for something like 6,000 to 10,000 steps a day just from this kind of general movement.
Wow. Okay. So that daily pottering around actually matters.
It really does.
Uh,
Then you've got what most people think of as a workout. That's exercise physical activity, or EPA, sometimes called deliberate activity.
okay. So this is the planned stuff.
Precisely. Planned, structured, repetitive, and you're doing it with specific health goals in mind.
And there are general recommendations for that, too.
Yep. For adults, the guidelines usually suggest at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. Or, if you're doing high intensity stuff, 75 to 150 minutes a week.
Got it. 150 moderate or 75 vigorous?
Basically, yes. And within that deliberate exercise, the type you choose really matters for your specific goal.
Okay, let's break that down. What if your main goal is fat loss or maybe better heart health?
Then you're looking at aerobic exercise or cardio. That's your best bet for improving body fat percentage and boosting cardiovascular and respiratory health. Think running, cycling, swimming, that kind of thing.
Right, the stuff that gets your heart pumping for a while. What about building strength or muscle?
Then you want resistance training or strength training. That's ideal for enhancing strength, muscular endurance, or muscle size.
So lifting weights, push-ups.
Exactly. Anything where you're working against some form of resistance to challenge the muscles.
And the third type?
Stretching exercises. These are focused on improving your body's flexibility and the range of motion in your joints.
Like yoga.
Yoga is a great example, yeah. It often hits flexibility really well, sometimes strength too.
Okay, so we have these different types. Cardio, strength, flexibility, and we know we need to be deliberate. How do you actually structure a workout plan that works and, importantly, that you'll actually do?
That's where a really useful framework comes in, highlighted in our sources. It's called the FET principle. FITTE.
FETE. Okay, what does that stand for?
It's a fantastic acronym because it covers the key elements. F is for frequency, how often you train.
Right.
I is intensity, how hard you're working.
Okay.
The first T is the kind of exercise like we just discussed, cardio, strength, etc.
Makes sense.
The second T is time, how long your workout session is.
Duration. Got it.
And then the E. This one's crucial and often overlooked, enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Yeah.
Seriously, because the sources are clear. The workout you actually like and do consistently is way better than some theoretically perfect workout that you dread and skip.
Absolutely. Consistency is everything. I totally agree with that.
It really is king.
So, FAT gives us the what. Now, let's talk about the how of the actual workout session. The sources mention a specific sequence.
They do, and it's really important. A 3-part sequence for any effective workout. Warm-up, then the main exercise, followed by a cool-down.
Warm-up, main, cool-down. Why is that sequence so vital?
Well, the warm-up does a few key things. It gets your muscles and joints ready, which helps reduce the risk of injury.
Okay.
It also gradually increases your heart rate, gets oxygen and nutrients flowing better, and even helps you mentally focus for the workout ahead.
What kind of things count as a warm-up?
Think simple joint rotations, like shoulder circles or leg swings, and maybe some light dynamic stretches involving movement.
Gotcha. And you mentioned consulting a doctor.
Yes, absolutely crucial, especially if you have any movement restrictions or underlying health conditions. Always check with a healthcare professional before starting something new. Better safe than sorry.
Definitely good advice. Okay, so you're warmed up. Now for the main event, the main exercise. Let's apply that F8 principle. What if someone's main goal is fat reduction?
Okay, for fat reduction, applying FIT looks something like this. Frequency would be high, maybe 5 to 7 days a week.
Wow, okay. Frequent.
Yeah, consistency helps. Intensity should be moderate, sort of like brisk walking pace, maybe 5 to 6.5 kilometers per hour. Enough that you can talk, but maybe not sing comfortably.
The talk test.
Exactly. Type would be cardio or aerobic exercise. Time, duration is important here. Aim for at least 30 minutes per session.
At least 30 minutes.
And enjoyment, pick something you actually like. Running, cycling, dancing, team sports, whatever keeps you coming back.
Makes sense. What about for muscle gain? How does FE apply there?
For muscle gain, it's a bit different. Frequency is usually lower, maybe 2 to 3 days per week, to allow muscles time to recover and grow.
Recovery time, right.
Intensity involves using resistance that challenges your muscles. It should feel tough, and you'll gradually increase this resistance over time as you get stronger. That's personalized.
Oh.
Type is obviously resistance training. Time, in this context, often refers to sets and reps. A common guideline is 2 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 continuous repetitions for each major muscle group.
Sets and reps. Got it. And enjoyment. Weights, machines, body weight.
Whatever form of resistance training you find engaging and can do with good technique, proper form is key here to avoid injury.
Good point. And flexibility often gets skipped.
It does, but it's so important. For flexibility, frequency can be high, even daily, so 2 to 7 days a week.
Okay.
Intensity is about feeling a good stretch, maybe a little discomfort at the end of your range of motion, but never sharp pain.
No pain. Right.
Type of stretching exercises, obviously. Time here usually means holding a stretch for about 15 to 30 seconds and repeating that 2 to 4 times per stretch.
Hold the stretch.
Yeah, static stretching is common here. And enjoyment, again, things like yoga or dedicated stretching routines can make it feel less like a chore.
Great breakdown. So warm up, main exercise tailored with fifth UD, then the cool down. Why bother with that? Feels like the work is done.
But the cool down is important for recovery. Its main goals are to help prevent muscle cramps or soreness later on and to gently bring your heart rate back down towards resting.
Okay, so it eases you out of the workout.
Exactly. It helps the body transition back. Things like light walking or some gentle, sustained stretches focusing on the muscles you just worked are perfect. Think of it as kind of closing the loop on the session.
Right. Okay, so we've covered the structure, the types, the FD principle. But you mentioned something earlier about training smarter for fat burning. Sounds like there's more to it.
There absolutely is. To really hack your body's fat-burning potential, we need to go up a bit deeper. We need to understand how your body actually chooses its fuel during exercise.
Fuel choices, like petrol or diesel for a car. Sort of. Your body mainly uses 2 fuel sources when you exercise: carbohydrates and fats.
Carbohydrates, okay.
Carbohydrates, which are stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver, are like your quick access energy. Great for fast, intense bursts when you need power now.
Got it. Quick energy.
And then you have fats. Fats are your body's massive, slow-burning fuel reserve, stored very efficiently, almost limitless supply for most people. Your body prefers using fat for lower intensity, longer duration activities.
So fast energy from carbs, slow energy from fat? Does it use one or the other?
That's the key insight. It usually uses a mix of both. And the ratio of carbs to fat it burns depends heavily on the intensity of your exercise.
Intensity again.
Exactly. Intensity is directly linked to your heart rate. At very low intensities, you burn a higher percentage of fat. As the intensity ramps up, your body relies more and more on those quick-burning carbs.
Okay, so lower intensity burns more fat.
Proportionally.
Proportionally, yes. It's not just about total calories burned, but which fuel source your body is prioritizing based on how hard you're working.
This feels important. So how do we use this? How does heart rate fit in?
This brings us right to cracking the heart rate zone code. This is really fascinating. Heart rate zones are basically ranges calculated as percentages of your maximum heart rate, or MHR.
Maximum heart rate. How do you figure that out?
Well, the common quick estimate is the formula 220 minus your age.
I've heard of that. So if I'm 30, my estimated MHR is 190.
That's the estimate, yes. 190 beats per minute. But, and this is important, that 220 minus age formula is just an average, a rule of thumb.
An estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our sources point out that individual MHRs can actually vary quite a bit, sometimes by 10, even 20 beats per minute, depending on genetics, fitness level, lots of things.
So it's a starting point, not gospel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Use it as a guide, but then you need to pay attention to how you actually feel.
Yeah.
That talk test we mentioned, that's a great real-world check. Or, ideally, you could get a proper fitness assessment for a more accurate MHR.
Okay, so use a formula as a starting point, then adjust based on feel. Got it. So what are these zones and how do they relate to fuel use?
Right. Let's connect it back. Generally, we talk about 5 zones. Zone 1 is about 50–60% of your MHR. Very light activity, like a slow walk. Good for recovery. You're burning mostly fat here, percentage-wise, but the total calorie burn is quite low.
Okay, recovery zone.
Zone 2 is 60–70% of MHR. Now, this is often called the fat-burning zone.
Ah, the magic zone.
Well, it's where your body is generally most efficient at using stored fat for fuel because there's plenty of oxygen available. This is where you should be able to hold a conversation comfortably.
Okay, zone 2, 60–70%, prime fat burning, conversational pace. What's next?
Zone 3 is 70–80% MHR. This is moderate aerobic activity. You start using a greater proportion of carbohydrates here, though still burning fat too. Conversation gets a bit harder, maybe choppy sentences.
Getting tougher.
Zone 4 is 80–90% MHR. Now it's hard work getting into anaerobic territory. Your body relies heavily on carbs for quick energy here. You can only sustain this for shorter periods. Definitely can't chat much.
Short bursts.
Right. And finally, Zone 5 is 90–100% MHR. That's your all-out, maximum effort. Think sprinting for the finish line. Almost entirely fueled by carbs. And you can only keep it up for very short bursts.
Wow. Okay, that zone 2 really does seem key for targeting fat loss, doesn't it? It feels a bit counterintuitive, though. You think fat burning, you think intense effort.
That's a brilliant point, and it's probably the biggest mental hurdle for people to clear. It feels like harder work should burn more fat, right?
Yeah.
But physiologically, in Zone 2, your body has enough oxygen readily available to go through the slightly slower process of breaking down fat for energy. When you ramp up the intensity into Zones 3, 4, 5, your body needs energy faster than fat oxidation can provide, especially with less oxygen available, relatively speaking, so it shifts towards burning those quick-releasing carbs.
So higher intensity burns more total calories, maybe, but zone 2 burns a higher percentage of fat calories.
We've nailed it. Higher intensity burns more total calories per minute, which is great. But for specifically maximizing the percentage of calories burned from fat, and for being able to sustain the activity for longer periods, Zone 2 is often that sweet spot.
That distinction is so important. Okay, this is starting to form a real strategy. Can we pull this all together? Like, what's the actionable plan for someone listening who wants to maximize fat burning using this knowledge?
Absolutely. Let's build that actionable blueprint. We can think of it as maybe a 7-pillar strategy.
Okay, pillar 1.
Pillar 1, calculate your estimated MHR, 220 minus age, and identify your Zone 2 range, 60–70% of MHR. So for that 40-year-old example, MHR 180, their Zone 2 is roughly 108 to 126
Okay, let's talk about something I think a lot of us have felt. Calculate your zone. You push really hard in your workouts,
invest
you're
in a heart
sweating
rate
buckets,
monitor. Seriously,
totally
guessing
wiped out.
intensity is really difficult.
And then you step
To
on
train
the
in
scale,
the right zone,
and it's
you
like,
need to measure
why isn't
Chest
the
straps
fat
are
loss
usually most
happening?
accurate,
It's so
but a
frustrating.
decent wrist-based tracker
It really
can
is a
work for many
common
people.
frustration.
Measure, don't guess.
But what if I told you
Right.
there's a
Pillar 3.
specific
Pillar
way,
3.
a
Prioritize
science-backed
longer,
approach
sustained cardio
that
sessions
can
within
actually
that
help
zone
turn
2.
your body
Aim
into
for maybe
a
30
much
to
more
60 minutes
efficient
per
fat burning
session,
machine.
3 to
Okay,
5
I'm
times a
listening.
month.
So it's not just
Keep
about
that heart
grinding
rate
harder.
consistently
Exactly.
in the zone. It's
What
much
kind of
more about
activities?
things
Training
like brisk
smarter
walking, light jogging,
and
cycling
well,
at a
that's
steady pace
precisely what
using
we're
an
gonna
elliptical.
dive deep into today.
Swimming
Great.
activities
We've looked
you
at
can
some
maintain
really
comfortably
comprehensive
for that
sources.
duration. One
Okay,
covering
sustained
physical
zone
activity
2
broadly,
cardio.
and another
Pillar
focusing
4.
right
Pillar
in on
4.
the
Use the
precise
talk test
science of heart
as your
rate
real-time
training.
guide.
So what's
Remember,
the mission here?
In Zone 2,
Our mission
you should be
really
able to talk
is to give you a
comfortably,
clear,
but not sing.
actionable
If you can
blueprint,
sing,
something you
maybe
can
pick
use
up the
to
pace
genuinely
slightly.
optimize
If
your
you're
workouts
gasping and can't talk,
ease off
unlock your
It's
body's
a simple,
best
effective
fat burning
check.
potential.
Listen to your body. Love it. Sounds Pillar good. 5.
Pillar 5.
So where
Don't
do we
only do
start?
Zone 2.
Maybe with the
Incorporate
basics.
some
Like, what
higher
is
intensity
physical
interval
activity
training, those
according to
bursts
these
into Zone
sources?
4 or 5
Good starting
maybe
point.
once or twice a week.
Why
Yeah,
add
the sources
intervals if
define it
zone
pretty
2 is the
broadly.
fat burning zone?
Basically, it's
Great
any
question.
kind of
Well,
movement
Zone
that
2
uses
maximizes
the
energy.
percentage of fat burned during
But
the workout.
crucially,
high-intensity
it's not
intervals
all
burn more total
formal
calories in
exercise.
less time.
Right. So there are
Plus,
different
they create something
types.
called the
Exactly.
Exactly.
afterburn
You can
effect,
kind of break
or
it down into
EPO.
two main
It's
types.
Excess
First,
post-exercise
there's something
oxygen
called
consumption.
non-exercise physical activity.
Basically, your metabolism stays
Never
elevated for a while
Never.
after the
Yeah.
intense workout,
And that's
burning
any
extra
movement your body
calories,
makes
including
using
your
fat.
muscles, that
So
burns energy
combining
above
steady
just,
zone 2 with occasional
resting,
intervals
gives
walking
you the
around,
best of both
fidgeting,
worlds for fat loss.
taking the stairs.
Just
Best of
everyday
both
stuff.
Right.
Makes
And
sense.
it adds up.
Pillar 6.
The
Pillar
World
6.
Health Organization actually
Don't forget
suggests
strength
aiming for
training.
something
We
like
talked about it
6,000
earlier.
to 10,000
Building muscle
steps a
is
day
huge
just
for
from
fat
this kind of
loss.
general movement.
Muscle tissue burns more
So that
calories at
daily
rest
pottering
than fat
around
tissue
actually
does.
matters.
It really
So
does.
more muscle means a
Then
higher resting
you've got
metabolism,
what most people think of as a
meaning you
workout.
burn more calories,
That's
including
exercise
fat,
physical activity,
even when you're not
or
exercising.
EPA.
Boosts your
Sometimes called
metabolism
deliberate
24/7.
activity.
Pretty
okay,
much.
so this is
It
the plan
complements the
stuff.
cardio
Precisely.
perfectly. Aim for 2 to
Planned,
3 sessions.
structured,
Excellent.
repetitive,
And the
you're
last
doing
one,
it with
pillar
specific
7.
health
Pillar
goals in
7.
mind.
And there are
Fuel
general
smartly
recommendations for that
around
too.
your workouts.
Yep.
This is key.
For
those
adults,
zone
the
2
guidelines
sessions, your
usually
body is
suggest
primed
at
to
least
use fat, so
150
you might
to
not
300
need heavy
minutes
carbs
of moderate
beforehand.
intensity
For
exercise
higher
per week.
intensity intervals, though,
Or
having
if
some
you're doing
complex
high
carbs
intensity
an hour or
stuff,
two before
75
could
to
provide that
150
quick
minutes a
energy
week.
you'll need.
Got it.
And after the
150
workout.
moderate
After any
or
workout,
75
especially strength
vigorous?
training or intense
Basically,
cardio,
yes.
and
Prioritize
within that
protein
deliberate
to help
exercise,
repair
the
and
type you
rebuild
choose
muscle
really
tissue.
matters for your
And of
specific
course,
goal.
stay hydrated
let's
and
break that
replenish
down.
electrolytes
What
if
if your
needed.
main goal is fat
Our sources
loss,
even
or
mention
maybe
how
better heart
balanced
health?
nutrition,
Then you're
sometimes
looking
helped
at
by things like
aerobic
protein
exercise
powders or specific
cardio.
meal
That's your
replacements,
best
really
bet
supports
for
these
improving
efforts.
body fat
Fueling
percentage
is definitely a big
and,
piece of the puzzle.
boosting
Okay, that
cardiovascular
7-pillar
and
strategy
respiratory
feels
health.
really
Think running,
practical.
cycling, swimming,
Any other
that
crucial
kind of
advice
thing.
people
Right,
should
the
keep in
stuff
mind?
that gets your
Yes,
heart
a few
pumping for
important
a while.
reminders.
What about building strength
Always
or
train
muscle?
within your current limits.
Then you
and
want
increase
resistance
the
training
intensity or
strength
duration
training. That's
gradually
ideal for
over
enhancing
time.
strength,
Don't
muscular
try to do
endurance, or
too
muscle
much
size.
too soon.
So lifting
Gradual
weights,
progression.
push-ups.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And always,
Anything where you're
always
working
follow
against
that
some form of
warm-up,
resistance
main
to
exercise,
challenge the muscles.
cool-down
And the
structure.
third type?
Pay close
Stretching
attention to correct
exercises.
technique in all
These are
exercises
focused on
to
improving
avoid
your
injury.
body's flexibility
Use the right
and the
gear,
range of motion in your
proper
joints.
shoes.
Like
The
yoga.
fundamentals.
Yoga is a great
Right.
example, yeah.
It
Also
often
aims
aims
for
for balance
flexibility really
training.
well. Sometimes
Different
muscle
strengths, too.
groups don't just
Okay,
focus
so we
on
have
one
these different
area
types.
and schedule
Cardio,
rest days.
strength,
Recovery is when the
flexibility.
adaptations
And we know
happen.
we need to be
And
deliberate.
finally, as we touched on with
How
fueling,
do you actually
make sure you're getting enough
structure
energy overall,
a workout plan
good
that
nutrition,
works,
plenty of water, and
importantly,
electrolytes,
that you'll actually
especially
do?
if you're
That's
sweating
where
a
a
lot.
really useful
Okay, lots to
framework
keep in
comes
mind,
in,
but it all makes
highlighted
sense
in our
for
sources.
safety
It's called
and
the
effectiveness.
FET
So
principle.
let's tie this all together. What's the big
FITTE.
takeaway here?
FETE.
The
Okay,
big
what does that
takeaway
stand
is
for?
that
It's a
by
fantastic
understanding these
acronym because it
principles,
covers
how
the
your
key
body
elements.
uses fuel,
F
the importance
is
of heart rate
for
zones, the
frequency,
fat
how
pool
often you
principle,
train.
Right.
the workout
I
structure.
is
You can move
intensity,
beyond
how
just,
hard you're working.
exercising
Okay.
randomly.
The first T is
You can strategically
the kind of
teach your body
exercise
to
like we just
become
discussed.
more efficient
Cardio,
at
strength,
burning
etc.
fat.
Makes sense.
It
The second
leads to
T
more effective
is
fat loss,
time,
yes,
how long your
but
workout
also
session
better
is.
endurance,
Duration.
more
Got it.
sustained
And then
energy.
the E.
It's about working with
This
your
one's
body's
crucial
natural systems.
and often overlooked.
Training smarter, not
Enjoyment.
just harder.
Enjoyment.
Empowering your
Yeah.
body
Seriously,
to tap
because
into
the
that
sources are
huge fat
clear.
reserve.
Precisely. That's
The
the goal.
workout you
So, to
actually
quickly
like
recap,
and
this
do
deep dive
consistently
has
is
hopefully
way
armed you
better
with the
than
knowledge
some
to refine your
theoretically
training.
perfect workout
Focusing
that you
on
dread
things
and
like
skip.
zone 2
Absolutely.
for fat
Consistency is
oxidation,
everything. I
but
totally
maybe
agree
adding
with that.
intervals,
really is key.
remembering strength
So,
training, and always
FAT
applying
gives us
fit
the what.
and the proper
Now,
workout
let's
structure.
talk about the
It's about
how
making
of
your
the
efforts
actual
count
workout
more.
session.
Absolutely.
The
It's
sources
about getting
mention
real
a
lasting
specific
results by
sequence.
They do,
understanding
and
the
it's
science
really
behind
important.
it all.
Now,
a
here's a final
three-part
thought to
sequence
leave
for
you with.
any effective
Consider
workout.
this. If
Warm
you
up,
truly
then the main
understand how
exercise,
your body uses
followed by a
fuel
cool
and how
down.
to interpret
Warm up,
the subtle
main,
signals
cool
of your
down.
heart rate,
Why is that sequence
how
so
might that
vital?
change not
Well,
just your planned
the warm-up
workouts,
does a
but your
few key
whole
things.
approach to daily
It
movement?
gets your muscles and joints ready,
Interesting
which
question.
helps reduce the
What
risk
if
of
every
injury.
walk, every
It
time
also
you take the stairs,
gradually
every
increases
active
your
choice
heart
could be
rate,
seen through this
gets
lens?
oxygen and
Could you start
nutrients flowing
optimizing
better,
even those
and even
small
helps you mentally
activities for better
focus for the
energy
workout
and fat
ahead.
utilization?
What kind of things can
What
as
if
a warm-up?
training smarter
Fix
becomes
simple
less
joint
about specific
rotations,
gym
like
sessions and
shoulder
more like
circles
an
or leg
intuitive,
swings,
constant
and maybe
part
some
of how
light
you live your
dynamic
life?
stretches,
Something to
stretches
think about.
involving movement.
And you mentioned consulting a doctor.
Yes, absolutely. Especially if you have any movement restrictions or health conditions, always check with a healthcare professional.